that mosquito spray.
Yeah, I
You know,
totally agree.
so that really changed a lot. But I think hearing the morning chorus made the biggest difference. People just were not, they were clueless how many birds were in their yard at any given time because they were getting up. It was noisy. They were going to work. They were absorbed in all the day-to-day things. And when they slowed down and started listening, whoa, there are a lot of birds in our neighborhood.
Yeah, this also had effects on astronomy. People were actually seeing the night sky, and that was something new for a lot of people. Michelle, did you have some effects up there as well?
No, everybody's just as dead-eyed as they've always been around here.
Uh,
But
she's in downtown Washington D.C. So yeah, all right. Well, that was cool. And let's see. Hopefully, we can learn from that, and we can keep going. I do have. Let's see. What was I going to share with you? Here we go. The birding report for Clyde Shepherd. And I know, Michelle, you may have to go to your meeting, and you just check out whenever you want. But I'm sure grateful that you checked in this time. Where is it? Okay, there it is. Let me stop sharing that screen and share this screen. As you can see, I'm an IT genius. Okay, so here's the eBird report for our local nature preserve, Clyde Shepherd Nature Preserve. So far on eBird, there have been over 4,000 checklists reported and 175 species. That's pretty incredible for a 28 acre chunk of mud, basically, with a trail in the middle of Decatur, Georgia, right next to North DeKalb Mall. So it's pretty incredible that there's that many species. And I think that may have to do with the fact that it's such a popular birding place as well, that we have that many species. The details you can view, and you can see all the latest birds that have been reported. There's Jeff Sewell again. This checklist is from October 14th, which was 2 days ago. And you can scroll down and see all the things that have been reported recently. These are all the standard characters. We have a lot of Cooper's hawks, red-shouldered hawks. There's some palm warblers, which is something relatively new. Hairy woodpecker by Josh Jackson. I don't know Josh, but hopefully that's a correct ID. The northern water thrush has been seen by a lot of people there. Tennessee warbler. I do know Josh, and that is a correct ID. Pileated European starling. Oh boy, it's that time of year. I've had a lot of bluebirds, towhees, black and white warblers. This is going back to October 9th. And just watching the change in the species over the months is really indicative of the migration patterns. If you went back 3 months, you would see a tenth of these species. You'd see cardinals, bluebirds, hawks, and a heron, basically. When fall migration came through last month is when you got all these crazy warblers. So let's look there. Yeah, worm-eating warbler, prairie warbler, Canada warbler, golden-winged warbler, reported by Steve Rushing. This was all at the end of September, which was when the warbler migration was in full swing. American bittern, I think we all remember that. The American bittern has flown the coop and headed south. He's probably down at Panizzi Swamp now or down in Florida enjoying life as an American bittern. But we got about 10 days of fantastic viewing opportunities with the American bittern. You can also see the recent visits. Jeff, Carol Stroop's always there. All these are all people that we all know very well that go there all the time. Kathy Miller. And these are the people that make eBird work by reporting their lists on eBird, either on site while they're birding or when they get home, they'll just record their notes. The all-time eBirders there, the people that have reported the most lists, Kathy Miller, Mary, everyone knows Mary Turlington. I love Mary Turlington. She's awesome. I met Mary Turlington the way everybody meets Mary Turlington. And that was, I was out birding somewhere and then she just popped out of a bush in the middle of the woods and said, "Hey, I'm Mary Turlington." She seems to be everywhere. Number 12 is me. How about that? I actually placed somewhere close on this, and that's because I go out there at least 3 times a week picking up trash, and I always bird while I'm there. So these are some of the ways that eBird can assist you in finding birds. Here's the top media uploaded in the last 30 days. There's a picture of the bittern from Dan Vickers, who was the first to spot it. Orange crowned warbler, eastern towhee, fish crow. I don't know how you can tell the difference, but I guess you can. I guess the way they sound. Yeah, Dan uploads a lot of photos. I don't get a chance to do that as much as I'd like to, but because they won't let you upload photos through the app, and you have to go to the website to do it, and I always forget. But eBird is a great way to keep up with what's going on. I don't even know what first seen does on here, but let's see what that does. Okay, it gives you all the species and the first time they were seen at Clyde Shepherd. So we had Philadelphia vireo, and I reported that actually. So that gives you about a 70% accuracy because I'm an amateur, but I'm pretty sure that's what that was. Ringneck duck first reported by Steve Rushing in November. This tells you when the bird was seen, who was the first to report it, which is something interesting. High counts, I'm not sure what that does either. Let's find out. Okay, it does nothing today because the server's got a problem with that. So let's go back there. Okay, we will stop the screen share, and we will talk a little bit about this weekend coming up. Tomorrow is a big day in October for birding, and I've not participated in this directly, but of course I do report my birds to eBird. So I think that you participate whether you know you're participating or not if you put in a bird checklist tomorrow. Steve, do you know anything about Big Day and what that is? Yep, it's the mute button. I'm going to bring up the website for that while.
Okay, I think I'm good now.
Okay.
Yeah, you should bring that up. You know, Big Day, the Big Day, they just want as many birders to turn in as many checklists as they can, and it's kind of competitive, right? They'll keep track of birders and how many species they're seeing in that day, and you know, birding can get pretty competitive, as you know.
Yeah, yes, I do know.
Right. And so there'll be a lot of people out there shooting for the highest number of species in one day, and then there are Big Day teams that will do this periodically as well. And then there's the infamous kind of birders, Noah Stryker, who did the global big year thing that he did a few years ago.
And hence, I think the movie was based on him. The what was it called? The Big Year or something with Jack Black and those guys.
Yeah, it was about the big year, but it wasn't about Noah. Noah just did a few, 17, 18, something like that. And
well, I think they might have been exaggerating the competitiveness a little bit, but they weren't exaggerating it completely. There's certainly a lot of that.
There's a book out, and I can't recall the title of it, about a woman who just basically ruined her life chasing birds all over the world and just gave up her family and everything. So it can get really competitive.
Like the new crazy cat lady,
Exactly. But it's a great way to get participation and get data, right? You make something a contest, and the typical American's going to jump right, or person's going to jump right in there and try to win it. So it's good data. And like you said, if you go birding tomorrow, just turn in your list and you're automatically participating.
Yeah.
It's like the different Christmas bird count, it's the same thing, and set aside days and encourage people to count the birds that come to their feeders, or come to their yards, or come to whatever structures and things that they bird. And that just helps Cornell get more data.
Yeah, and I have participated in that before, the backyard feeder count or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
So Big Day is another type of that sort of thing where they want to encourage the most people possible to report the birds for citizen science. Again, eBird is not just for competing with each other. It's a it's Cornell University, and they use it for actual science and data. Because according to a recent report, we've killed off over half the animals on the planet in the last 40 years. And
well, it's also a way different groups can raise money, right? Cornell does it. They have a team, and you can pledge so much money, so many dollars per bird, and then they go out and try to,
Oh, I see. So you get sponsorships, right?
Yeah, it's and Ann and I do that every year. And they've had a couple of really big years, so you got to be careful sometimes when you're coming up with the pledge amount. But they'll see a couple hundred species in a day.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. I mean, I think the most I've ever seen was with Adam Betchwell on that Florida Audubon trip, where we logged 123 species in a day. And to be honest, mine are always low. I don't know why. Maybe I should revisit this, but I don't really report them unless I see them and identify them 100%. I know most birders report it if they hear them, but I'm just not good enough on most birds to be sure from a bird call what I'm seeing or what I'm.
The only ones I'll do is the ones that's unmistakable, the bards, the warblers and things. I'll leave to Mary Turlington and Captain Miller and those people. But do you know Gift Beaton?
No, I don't think so.
He's on iNaturalist. He and Pierre Howard, I saw Pierre's on your list. They got finished counting every bird that could possibly count in Georgia, so now they're all counting butterflies and beetles. But Giff and a couple of guys back in the maybe late 1980s, early 90s, or something like that, when he got into it, they would go out and they would count 190. I think they have the record of 191, 193 in a day. And he is really competitive. He and Pierre. He's right up there with Dan Vickers in terms of intensity when he does it.
And that's cool if that's how they want to do it. That's their thing.
Yeah, no, and I don't get into it much, but it is interesting to figure out what their strategies are. So when you are out birding, where they went to find a particular kind of bird or family of species, like Charlie Elliott for owls, the coast, obviously. So when you figure out and understand their strategies, it helps you kind of in your day-to-day non-competitive birding, because they kind of map out where the birds are going to be and the times of day they're going to be there across Georgia. So just another source of information.
Yeah, that's interesting. I was just kind of lost in thought there about that would be a great way to just watch them work to see how quickly they see them. And hopefully these guys aren't calling them or anything, but I know, Vickers doesn't do that, but everybody's got their way to bird. And I enjoy it. I used to be in a bass fishing club when I was an air traffic controller, and it was so competitive, man. And it was just a horrible experience. And I really hated, the only thing that mattered was who caught the most fish at the end of the day. And I really enjoyed just being on the lake and looking around and seeing nature more than anybody else. And that's why I never won a bass tournament. But the competitiveness, like you say, it's human nature.
Well, it plays out. You're, like me, you're principally a bird photographer. And I don't go on those kind of active birding trips because the pace, they want to spot and go. I might spend an hour just trying to get one shot of one bird.
Yeah, me too.
And I call that a successful day.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I think if you stand in one spot for an hour, then the birds are generally going to come to you.
Right. And think about the guys who do this, competitively in 24 hours. They will go from up near Chattanooga to Brunswick in 24 hours.
I'm too old for that. I guess I'm like you. I just enjoy being outside and the smells and the sounds, and especially when it's at sunrise or something unusual is going on. It just really relaxes me and makes me get introspective, and I clear my head of things that are bothering me. And if the birds will come by, I've noticed, if you just be quiet and sit somewhere. You may not see as many birds as you would going from Chattanooga to Brunswick in a day, but boy, you'll see some quality birds and you'll enjoy seeing them. So that's just our style, I guess, and that's
Yeah,
good.
you know, you kind of talking about birders, and there's also the chaser, right? That you know, when the brown booty shows up on Lake Lanier, there are people who will drop what they're doing right then, right, and chase it when they're
And rent a boat to go take pictures of it.
when the American sparrow was down in Augusta, you know, people they would carpool. I mean, you know,
Wow.
there are people, and I know several of them, and really good friends. They use it as I don't know. It's kind of like you know, the far edges of the hobby for us, but to them, it's a great thing to do to get out.
Yeah, and they enjoy it, so that's all that matters.
They see new parts of Georgia.
Yeah. To like the guy we had on the show 2 weeks ago, who had logged 50 plus birds in every county in the state of Georgia, Wes Hatch. Yes. And I thought, you know, that was just such a weird thing for me to contemplate. But, you know, you've got to spend a lot of time doing that, man. How do you have a family or a girlfriend or whatever? If you
know, there are people like Adam too, right? Who they keep their list by county, and every once in a while you'll hear Adam say that was the first Bachman's for me in this county. I mean, they go to that kind of granularity. Yeah. And again, you know, if that's what they want to. I applaud them. You know,
yeah.
And I learned from them. You know, like when they sit down and say, "I went." That's how I found the Bachmans down at Fall Line. I'd been chasing that bird for years down in Piedmont, and someone posted that they were coming back because they were bringing back the long-leaf pine ecosystem down there, which they're doing, and so that's been drawing the Bachmans back in. But the people who watched that carefully, chased the Bachmans, put together the pattern that they were seeing them more and more frequently down the Fall Line. And,
I went birding with Betchwell down in Florida when I first started, and we got on this Bachman sparrow thing, and there was about 15 people there, and I was probably the youngest one. And he said, "Hey, you guys want to go try to find this Bachman sparrow?" And he goes, "It's just a little ways up the road here." And you know, he was on it, man. He was just 100% on this, finding this bird. And we hiked 6.5 miles into a sandy area, you know, like a scrub jay area, 6.5 miles. And there's people in their 80s in this group, you know, and I mean, people were literally falling out. It was so far, we had to come back and hike it. And I mean, he was locked in on that bird, and we sat there forever looking for a Bachman sparrow. And we actually didn't find one on this trip, but it was amazing how I don't know the right word, but how zoned in, you know, he and some of the others were on getting this bird. And I actually did see my first Bachman sparrow with my friend Trenda down in Florida. And we walked into one of the parks down there, and the dude said, "Yeah, they're all over there." And we walked over, and within about, you know, 30 seconds, we saw 3 Bachman sparrows. So, you know, it's weird the things that you see people do, and it's also it's educational. You know, it's a little human nature course sometimes on the way some people like to bird and some people don't like to bird. So these are all good things about the hobby.
Yeah, and it for me too, it connects to conservation and preservation. The reason I was dead set on trying to find the Bachmans is because their population has been devastated because we lost the longleaf pine savanna ecosystems, in, you know, in the southeast. And so the places where you find them now they're there because of successful management.
That's what this place was where I saw it, and it was advertised for the red cockaded woodpeckers, which are in the same habitat.
They share the same down at Piedmont National Wildlife Refuge, down by Pond 2A.
Pond 2A, I know it well.
You'll find Bachmans. But the fall line, I was down there, the wildflowers are coming back because they're doing a lot of prescribed burns and bringing it back. Natural grasses are bringing back, so that's bringing back the kingbird population and so forth. So for me, the connection to habitat restoration is an important part of my birding, because if populations are coming back, that means we're finally doing something right.
Yeah, I agree. And
But
hopefully we'll keep going that way. So back to the October Big Day, it's on eBird, and it tells you all the instructions of how to participate. If you don't have an eBird account, you can get on there and make one. It's just an email thing. There's no fees or anything involved, although they do accept donations. Watch birds tomorrow and enter what you see and hear on eBird. And then they will use that data as they use all their data for ornithological conservation science. So that brings up another subject. Steve, you might be interested in this too. Tomorrow, Georgia Audubon Bird Fest is currently going on, and that is a wonderful time with lots of cool trips that they plan for birders to go on. And of course, with COVID, everything has changed, including the way these organizations can do these meetings. So tomorrow is my scheduled bird hike at the Clyde Shepherd Nature Preserve for the Georgia Bird Fest, and they limited it to a small number of people. And of course, there'll be a mask policy because we have a mask policy there. So we're going to try out a bird hike tomorrow at 9 a.m. at Clyde Shepherd for the first time. And coincidentally, a cold front just moved in, and it was very cold and windy this morning. So it will be an interesting time to see what birds are active and what birds are not active. So that's gonna be tomorrow from 9 to 11, and that particular class is full already. But if it goes well, which I think it will, people just need to be reasonable about it. There's no need to come in a plastic bubble or whatever. Just be reasonable. And if that goes well, then we're going to restart our twice monthly bird hikes at the Clyde Shepherd Nature Preserve. And those of you watching in the Atlanta area, I really would encourage you to come out and participate in one of these. We provide the binoculars if you don't have them. We always have enormously informative and friendly people on these hikes, like Steve Rushing and Kathy Miller and others that have been birding, 40 plus years to help you with this hobby and to be friendly about explaining what we're seeing. There's no bird splaining that goes on. Nobody makes you feel dumb. Everybody is very inclusive, and we're going to start those up again, hopefully this month at the Clyde Shepherd Nature Preserve, and those are all free. And we're going to see how that goes tomorrow. Steve, did you see any super cool birds this week? Did you have any photos or anything that you wanted to share with us, or what's been your highlight this week in birding?
Well, the Blue Jay story I told you, it's been
Right.
fun. The numbers of Blue Jays picked up in the yard. They're back. We have 3 red-tailed hawks that are in our end of the neighborhood, and I've gotten some flight shots of them that's turned out pretty nice. But then one landed right in the tree and was hunting right off the front porch, and that's always fun to watch. To watch the hawk and watch the squirrels, and
Yes,
the Blue Jays are chasing the hawk, and and just all of that commotion was fun. Blue-headed vireo dropped by. I had a number of Tennessee warblers still coming through, and I saw one just a minute ago as well. And Birdcast is forecasting a lot of activity over the next 2 nights. And this cold front, you guys might have a pretty good day tomorrow, mid-morning on when it warms up a little bit and the insects start moving.
that's what I'm hoping for, yeah.
Yeah, so there's supposed to be a lot of that cold front might get them to drop in and stay for a little while over the next couple of days. So it could be a good day.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping. Over here in Virginia Highlands, the chimney swifts are still going at it every night. They're over my house, hundreds of them. The herd's gotten a lot thicker. I guess the flock has gotten a lot thicker, which tells me they're probably getting ready to head south here pretty soon. Last year, they left the 3rd week of October, one day before our Georgia Audubon event to watch them. And they are still going heavy over here. So if you want to see the chimney swift tornado going into the chimney at Ford Factory Square, just come on down about 10 minutes, 15 minutes before sunset. an hour before sunset would be better because you can see them form up. But the whole sky fills with chimney swifts, thousands of chimney swifts. And then they make a tighter and tighter cyclonic movement until they just dump themselves down in the chimney and go to sleep. And then they come back out at sunrise. And that's still going on. And you can park in the free Beltline parking deck at the Kroger, the Murder Kroger on Ponce de Leon Avenue, and watch them. And speaking of red-tailed hawks, we have a red-tailed hawk that sits in our driveway in a dead tree, and he's been there almost every night, and he just watches him. You know, he just watches him go by. And when I was doing the Audubon live broadcast for that this year, a red-tailed hawk flew through the group of chimney swifts, and about 20 of them chased it off and ran it out of the group. So that was pretty fun to watch too. That's an amazingly awesome bird to see. You know, it's real common, everybody takes it for granted, but the red-tailed hawk is a beautiful bird. It's got an enormously strong beak structure and head, and then the necklace around the white bare chest with the little brown spot necklace at the bottom. It's just really an attractive feature. And when you see one from the underside flying with good light, there's no doubt as to why it's called a red-tailed hawk.
Exactly.
Just like with the red-shouldered hawk, which I was puzzled with why they would call it that for a while, until I saw a few of them from underneath with good light. And they actually have red shoulders underneath their wings. And I think that's a cool thing. So you learn something new every day when you're birding. Next week's show at 10 a.m. on Friday is going to be really cool. We're going to have Rafael Colon Romano and Fritz Picardo Cornelio, who are both Dominican bird watchers and also astronomers and friends of mine that I've visited and birded with before. In fact, when I visited Fritz a few years ago at his home in Santo Domingo, there were so many hummingbirds on his deck that I stopped our whole astronomy part. Now I got my camera out and started taking pictures of all these different species of hummingbirds on his deck. So they're going to come on live from the Dominican Republic and show us the birds that have migrated through there. And Fritz has a presentation about local Dominican birds, which is going to be really interesting. It's a cheap vacation. It's a very safe country, and it's a fairly affluent community on the east side of the island there in the Dominican Republic. So once this vaccine comes out and everything gets a little bit more normal, Ecuador and the Dominican Republic are fantastic locations to go birding, and they're also cheap, short flights from Atlanta. So that's this week's show for this week in birding and nature photography. And I want to thank Steve for checking in as always. He's a humongous supporter and friend. And my niece Michelle checked in for the first time, which was crazy. This program will be recorded and on the Facebook page for anyone who missed any part of it. And join us next week at 10 a.m. on Friday for more of, there it is, This Week in Birding and Nature Photography. Thank you everyone for joining us.